The White Cliffs of Dover are the region of English coastline facing the Strait of Dover in France. The cliff face, which reaches a height of 350 feet, owes its striking appearance to its composition of chalk accented by streaks of black flint, deposited during the Late Cretaceous. The cliffs, on both sides of the town of Dover in Kent, stretch for 8 miles. The White Cliffs of Dover form part of the North Downs. A section of coastline encompassing the cliffs was purchased by the National Trust in 2016. The cliffs are part of the Dover to Kingsdown Cliffs Site of Special Scientific Interest and Special Area of Conservation. The point where Great Britain is closest to continental Europe, on a clear day the cliffs are visible from France, approximately 20 miles away. A celebrated UK landmark, the cliffs have featured on commemorative postage stamps issued by the Royal Mail, including in their British Coastline series in 2002 and UK A to Z series in 2012. The White Cliffs are at one end of the Kent Downs designated area of outstanding natural beauty. In 1999 a sustainable National Trust Visitor Centre was built in the area. The Gateway Building, designed by Van Heiningen and Howard Architects, houses a restaurant, an information centre on the work of the National Trust, and details of local archaeology, history and landscape. During the Late Cretaceous, between 100 million and 66 million years ago, Great Britain and much of Europe were submerged under a great sea. The sea bottom was covered with white mud formed from fragments of coccoliths, the skeletons of tiny algae that floated in the surface waters and sank to the bottom and, together with the remains of bottom living creatures, formed muddy sediments. It is thought that the sediments were deposited very slowly, probably half a millimeter a year, equivalent to about 180 coccoliths piled one on top of another. Up to 500 meters of sediments were deposited in some areas. The weight of overlying sediments caused the deposits to become consolidated into chalk. British chalk deposits are considered stratigraphically to belong in the chalk group. Due to the alpine orogeny, a major mountain building event during the Cenozoic, the seafloor deposits were raised above sea level. Until the end of the last glacial period, the British Isles were part of continental Europe, linked by the unbroken wheeled Artois anticline, a ridge that acted as a natural dam to hold back a large freshwater pro-glacial lake, now submerged under the North Sea. The land masses remained connected until between 450,000 and 180,000 years ago when at least 2 catastrophic glacial lake outburst floods breached the anticline and destroyed the ridge that connected Britain to Europe. A land connection across the southern North Sea existed intermittently. At later times when periods of glaciation resulted in lower sea levels. At the end of the last glacial period, around 10,000 years ago, rising sea levels finally severed the last land connection. The cliff's chalk face shows horizontal bands of dark-colored flint which is composed of the remains of sea sponges and siliceous planktonic microorganisms that hardened into the microscopic quartz crystals. Quartz silica-filled cavities left by dead marine creatures which are found as flint fossils, especially the internal molds of Micraster echinoids. Several different ocean floor species such as brachiopods, bivalves, crinoids, and sponges can be found in the chalk deposits, as can shark's teeth. The chalk grassland environment above the cliffs is excellent for many species of wild flowers, butterflies and birds, and has been designated a special area of conservation and a site of special scientific interest. The area was also inhabited during the Roman period when Dover was used as a port. A lighthouse survives from this era, one of a pair at Dover which helped shipping navigate the port. It is likely the area around the surviving lighthouse was inhabited in the early medieval period as archaeologists have found a Saxon cemetery here, and the Church of St. Mary in Castro was built next to the lighthouse in the 10th or 11th century. Dover Museum was founded in 1836. Shelled from France in 1942 during the Second World War, the museum lost much of its collections, including nearly all its natural history collections. Much of the surviving material was left neglected in caves and other stores until 1946. In 1948 a temporary museum was opened and in 1991 a new museum of 3 stories, built behind its original Victorian facade, was opened. In 1999, a new gallery on the second floor centered on the Dover Bronze Age boat was opened.